Excuse me, little nigga. I clogged the toilet. Where your mama at?
You see this? This is pure fear. That little girl was awakened out of her sleep by a freak of nature to be informed about a clogged toilet. Every time she sees a clogged toilet, she's going to be thinking about that faithful night. Fear is such an interesting emotion. It's motivated by our values, expectations, insecurities, the desire to avoid negative consequences or discomfort. If you were to fart and shit yourself in the middle of taking a test in a quiet-ass classroom, you tense up over the fact that you just shitted and farted in front of the huzz. You imagine the outcome of being labeled around the school as a stank-ass nigga. There's a limitless amount of shit that people can get scared by. A few common fears that are pretty known is being afraid of the dark, getting lost, death, drowning in quicksand, clowns, Momo, Exorcist Girl, people in mascot suits, Slender Man, creepy dolls, dinosaurs. Even Herobrine was something that impacted children's fears. That whole phenomenon spread so fast over the years and it's still being talked about to this very day. Ain't even mean to say that kids over-exaggerate about everything. One kid could be afraid of the KKK, meanwhile they're white as reflecting light with some diffusion and live in Australia. You even have the pool or lake shark group, believing that they are in the water at your local pool or lake. Fun fact, bull sharks can survive in lakes. Have fun with that information. To my butterfly group, I'm not even gonna make fun of y'all because I know what scene got you freaked out. Did you know that a dehydrated moth can drink human tears? So why don't you imagine 100 of those on you? You're welcome. Goosebumps is a well-known series all about children's horror. Being a kid, I always loved reading the Goosebumps books and watching the show being aired on Cartoon Network. It was entertaining because of the stories filled with teens or preteens who find themselves in terrifying circumstances, often involving occultists, the supernatural, or the paranormal. There were episodes like The Haunted Mask Entries, Night of the Puppet People, the Slappy series, Werewolf of Fever, Swamp, and Werewolf Skin, who were definite contenders of giving kids fears. Even weird ones like the fear of a lot of worms or fear of piano lessons. Yeah, piano lessons. Let me force a child to play the notes to run away. They ain't getting through the first note. They'll be screaming louder than a black woman in church on a Sunday morning. On the account of being suggested to talk about this topic, I asked my Discord to share what childhood fear they had experienced. King Bidoof says, don't know if this is a popular one, but goddamn, Barney scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Totally agree. I do not know why they didn't make a mascot that looks more adorable than this purple eggplant soulless fuck. Look at his eyes, there's no fucking light behind them. And why the hell does your toes look like spotlights? Are you on the lookout for prisoners? Itch? I think we need to have a talk. You literally were kidnapped. Not once, but multiple times. How many times has it happened? Stop getting kidnapped in your dreams. I don't know what ice cream truck you went to, but there's no ice cream waiting for you. Only imprisonment and roaches. Well, there's your problem. Being afraid of this feminine and beautiful piece of grand estate. Oh baby, she can drag me home anytime. Looks like some people here were afraid of the dark. Not sure if any of you experienced running up the stairs out of the basement because the light switch was at the bottom of the stairs, acting like you're about to see a black man open his eyes in pure darkness, robbing you of those measly ass funds in your pocket, or a monster that lives in the dark ready to take your life. When I was younger, I used to be freaked out by masks or people wearing faces of humans or other creatures, especially in horror movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but basically any media where people wore human faces or animal heads. There's plenty of masks in horror films that have genuinely frightened people. The wearing of someone else's face from films like Hellraiser, Silence of the Lambs, Devil's Rejects, or even Midsummer. The wolf mask in Creep was kind of creepy for some reason. It's not super scary, but it gave off the feeling like a 12-year-old searching up Jeff the Killer for the first time. Slipknot is a very good band, but if you were to leave their mask on and then take off all of their clothes, then they would look like a sacred BDSM party. Chimera says, elevators. With the amount of accidents caused by elevators, that's pretty valid. Whenever I see an overweight person and a few more people on the elevator, I don't even want to get on it. Escalators. I thought my shoes would get stuck and that I would get sucked into it. I was like 6 when I first got scared of them. Not only has there been instances of people getting stuck on an escalator, whether it be by not receiving any injuries, being injured, to possible death, but when I was reading this message, I remembered something very similar to someone being sucked into an object. There's this movie called The Blob, a big ass meteorite carrying an alien alien inside of it crashes into Earth, landing near small communities in Pennsylvania. It begins its conquest to envelop and conquer. That blob is hungrier than an army recruiter trying to get recruits at a high school. Some of these deaths were pretty gruesome and has been screwing up children's brains for a while. There's a scene in the movie where a guy named George just cleaning out the sink in the kitchen. He puts his hand in the drain and gets sucked in. Now you might be thinking, oh, it's a horror movie. Normally when the victim is attacked, they get killed relatively quickly. Nope, not here. Most victims in this movie don't die by being eaten. They die by suffocation, being melted away while being fully conscious for up to minutes at a time. If the blob makes any skin contact, you'll be screaming in pain. So being inside of it is just full of agony. People that have watched this film will argue that Eddie's death is the most famous in this film. I still think this sink scene is the most messed up death in this movie. This shit gave me nightmares for years as a child. Even the garbage disposals are sketchy as hell. Never mind about it being unplugged, can't trust shit for nothing. How about we all watch a part of it together, like a family?
Brand? Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
I want to point out that the moment George's head got stuck in, I felt that. He didn't die from that. This man was still alive. Let me explain. At some point, he did die. The blob assimilated that dude. So when his head was pulled down so easily, since it was already melting, the rest of the body was eventually being turned into goo inside of the sink before being sucked down due to being able to melt at a fast rate. In short, chunky human smoothie. I think it's time for me to share my main childhood fear. When I was younger, my father used to sit in the living room and watch a TV series called George Lopez.
Bro, is that Mr. Electric?
I know everyone tends to know him for that role in the movie, but yeah, he has his own show. Falling asleep while the show was being aired was not good because the moment I started to have nightmares, it made me have a cordial fear of that man. All it would take is for that theme song to start playing. All my friends will know that. If you showed me a photo of him during that age, I would flip out. Your toenails are being ripped off with rusty pliers. There's some pretty common or interesting fears that people have developed over from their childhood, though you can't forget about the pretty stupid ones. Your uncle could have a rat problem in the house and he'll jokingly tell you, "Oh, you better eat your vegetables or the rat man is gonna come and snatch you up." You conjured up a mental image and became indefinitely scared of the rat man, thinking that the rat man is some eldritch horror. Dude, that's Master Splinter's old ass. Anything could have been a fear to you at a young age due to the mind and imagination of a child being so crazy. Mr. Bean, Oompa Loompas, Mrs. Butterworth, a giant pelican the size of a greyhound. The list is practically endless. I don't have any more to say except one piece of advice. To the people who fear sharks, say no more. Are you still afraid?